gonna see what I can do. First of all, I would like to thank the TTSAO for this opportunity to come and speak to this group on the importance of training and entry-level training at that. And from the insurance side, however, just a quick little background at heart here. So I wasn't sure after this part how to go about it, but decided to look at it from two different ways. Look at it from the safety side, which is exactly what I am, as well as a little bit maybe from the driving side, because that's where I started in this industry. And I did the same thing as a lot of people did, went to the ministry and wrote my test, booked my road test and got my license and thought I was away to the races. There's a lot more to it than that, obviously. When I first did get my license, I'll say that it was quite interesting. It's a lot along the lines of what we see today, or not today. Sorry, what we've seen back then was you went into a company to try and get yourself a job, and you might fill out an application in some companies. You may hand in an abstract, and if you had a license and if you had a pulse, you're pretty much past the interview stage and you're off to the races. So that was a good, interesting way to start a career when you think of today, what we have in place. Now, not all companies were like that. Even then, I was fortunate enough when I started to full-time in the industry to get a company that had a good mentoring program and a good training program. However, when I did start, it was as a part-time driver. The hiring, as I said, the perspective of being the just the pulse thing kind of turned into then the orientation stage, which was here's the policy procedure manual, sign you understand it, and read it sometime, and here's the keys, your paperwork's on the front seat, the load's out there, call me when you're empty. Be careful, at all cases, be careful. Okay, so I started, as I say, part-time and did a little local deliveries for a company, and then I got my first opportunity to pick up a load. And I tell this story only because it's an interesting way of learning the industry at almost a hard way. A driver called in sick. The company I was working for part-time said, there's a brand new truck sitting out there. Can you go pick up a load, take it to GM in Michigan? Absolutely. I'm not saying no for that. First time out, 21-year-old kid, and of course I'm going. So I jump in the truck and I head down pretty darn proud, and I back into the dock to pick up my load, and the shipper says, how do you want to load it? I said, well, I want to put the boxes on the trailer. Let's go. He says, no, how do you want to load it for the weights? I don't know. So he said, well, we'll do it this way. So he loaded it for me. Off I went. Headed down the highway, and it's those that remember before the 427 when it ended at Highway 7, I was coming down Highway 50, and I got that green arrow just as happy as punch with my big smile on my face, making that corner in that brand new truck, just like I was driving my car. And I heard on the CB that, oh, this isn't going to be good. And I thought, who the heck are they talking about? I looked in the mirror, and all I could see was light underneath the wheels on the driver's side of my trailer, and I thought, oh, they're talking about me. So luckily I did not go over. However, that was the first two things, saying, training's a little important. I had no idea how to load the trailer. I had no idea about load security. And the worst part was yet to come is I had no idea I was going to cross the border yet. So it's quite interesting to see how things have changed. As I said, some carriers even then had a pretty good place to put their put their training up front. They're in the forefront. We have some very good in this room that started a long time ago at this table, and because they believed in it, they believed in the safety, and they've kept that going. So a lot of that stuff that we talked about here has pretty much gone, which is really good to see. They say when I went from the driving side, I went into operations at that company I was at, then into safety and compliance. And I'm proud to say I'm still a safety person at heart. I just happen to work for an insurance company. And that's part of our job, is to go out and help our carriers as well as, assess their risk for us. So why do we need this training? Well, public safety is one of the main concerns. Back then, when you're able to get that load, as I said, as David mentioned, I was one of the guys who grew up on the farm, so sorry, David, I wasn't all as perfect as it sounded. But anyways, when we, it was a little different then. I mean, as you know, it wasn't near the traffic on the road as there is today. 2008, the MTO study shows that 450,000 vehicles a day travel through Toronto in the 401. That's 2008. Imagine what it is today. Right? And the main corridor between Windsor and the Ontario-Quebec border, it's huge with trucks. The changes today with the length of trailers, twin 53s, we have bigger weights, we have heavier trucks, faster, not faster, but we have more powered trucks than we had. You know, it's a huge difference to be able to go out there and do that. So at Northbridge, we believe in promoting best practices as part of our job, and we feel that entry-level training would be the foundation of a best practice for a training program at a company. I think it's a good direction that they're heading, in my opinion, and it's only going to benefit carriers. More educated drivers, it's going to improve driver attraction, retention, improve our image on the road, and hopefully at the end of the day there's going to be more money made for them because this training is going to be standardized hopefully when they arrive at the door. They're going to know what they're getting, which is a really good start. So as I said, some of our best fleets that we deal and what's some of the best fleets in Canada in our opinion, and again I'm going to toot the horn of many of you that are out here that I know in the audience, and Mark for the effort that you put into that. We know that the best fleets have an excellent driver training program. So they have these standards in place as an industry, and they believe in them through the CTA, through the OTA, through their membership and their industry themselves, that we all need and everybody needs to abide by these standards. It's going to benefit everybody, make roads safer. So why is it important for the industry? I think more experienced drivers are going to reduce the potential for risk. Having a standardized entry-level training program will serve as the foundation and tie into a carrier's overall safety and training program, which in turn is going to make our roads safer for everybody, put good quality people on the road, and probably happier people on the road when it comes to driving because they're going to have that good start. Just think about it. If anybody that had teenage kids growing, or they're now gone up, or you've gone through this with, how'd you like to throw your set of keys to that 16-year-old who just wrote their test and passed their road test to head out on the town for the first time, or would you rather throw it to somebody that's been to a good driver training course first? I know that I was a lot more comfortable when my kids went through that driver training program, and it's no different now. I have two boys that are in the industry that are both driving, and I instill upon them the training. They ask for that, they learn for that, they really like it. In today's industry, and we're trying to learn and trying to track new drivers and the young drivers, you know, we look for training. A lot of drivers, whether they want to admit it or not, they do like the training aspect. They'll tell you on the side, they like the company they work for, no matter what you're hearing behind the closed doors. They talk about that out. But the new drivers that are up and coming into the industry, the new generation, they don't want the training, they expect the training. They want to see that come up from a good carrier, and that's where they're going to head. So from Northbridge, again, we consider and accept the current TTSAO curriculum as a 3-year equivalent for experience. This is the value that as an insurance company we are willing to place on training. Okay. So let's do a little perspective here when we go back and remember the times when a lot of us here that still have their license just wrote and drove and away we went. In today's standards, for the average, or for a helicopter pilot to get his license, 100 hours just to get their license. That's not saying they're going to fly either. Commercial pilots, 300 hours. But again, that's just the start of what they're going to have to go through. And we already know there's less chance of a plane crash than there is of a car or a truck crash. Okay? I do have a good colleague of mine that went through for a pilot, and due to an injury, he can't fly anymore, but he had a good friend of his that is a pilot, jumped in his truck and said, boy, he says, I fly a 767. He says, I wouldn't get in this to save my life. There's not a chance I would drive this thing up and down the road. We look at a mechanic, 6,500 hours, which kind of leads into an apprenticeship type style. I mean, we got good quality out of that kind of stuff, so it's all there. So carriers have moved forward, and a lot of our culture has moved up, that we want this training. We've set the bar higher ourselves, which is good on us. Now we got to bring everything else up to speed so we get that same compliment rate across the board. So just in summary, in principle, we do support this entry-level training and mandatory training and a competency testing. It's going to make for safer roads, safer people, better drivers. It's going to make the trucking industry that much better, in our opinion. And we welcome the opportunity to work with business and industry and support wherever possible. So just in closing, I'd like to just leave you with a little quote that we use in a lot of our presentations, and I use it because I think it really does hit home from Mr. Malcolm Gladwell. And his statement says it all, that every 2 miles, the average driver makes 400 observations, 40 decisions, and 1 mistake. Every 500 miles, one of those mistakes leads to a near collision, and every 61,000 miles, one of them near misses leads to a crash. Thank you very much.